All right, everyone, get ready because we're diving deep into a fascinating matchup, Capricorn and Aquarius compatibility. And just so you know, we're not giving you a crystal ball here, more like a map and compass, using astrology to explore the exciting possibilities, but also, where the potential bumps in the road might be for these two.
Yeah, exactly. We're going way beyond just those basic sun sign descriptions. We've got this awesome article that really breaks down their compatibility across all the different relationship areas.
It's like we're giving you a backstage pass to understand this unique dynamic.
Mm,
Plus, you might just pick up some insights into your own relationships along the way. Who doesn't love that, right?
absolutely. And one of the things that makes this pairing so interesting right off the bat is Saturn. Now, if you're into astrology, you know Saturn often gets a bad rap as the planet of discipline and structure, but it's also about building lasting foundations.
Okay, Saturn got it. But how does that play out when both Capricorn and Aquarius have Saturn as their ruling planet?
Well, that's the interesting part. They both have that Saturnian influence, that desire for structure and responsibility, but they express it in totally different ways. Capricorn is all about that earthy, grounded energy, building things in the real world step by step.
They're the ones making those 5-year plans, huh?
You got it. Whereas Aquarius, they're the air sign, right? They express Saturn's energy in a more unconventional way, through innovation, through challenging the norm. So even though they share that same planetary influence, their approaches to life and, to relationships are like night and day.
Wow, okay. So same tools, totally different blueprints. No wonder people are so curious about this one. So let's talk about something that's on everyone's mind when it comes to relationships. Passion and pace. Now, the article kind of hinted that these two might not exactly be on the same page in that department. What's the deal there?
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. When it comes to intimacy, let's just say Capricorn is all about that slow burn. They're sensual, they like to take their time, and they need that deep emotional connection to really feel it.
Okay, so they're not exactly the type to jump into things head first.
Exactly. They're all about building trust and intimacy gradually through physical touch and emotional vulnerability. Aquarius, on the other hand, they approach intimacy with a more mental energy. Think novelty, think excitement, think a little bit of the unexpected.
So we've got Capricorn planning their next move like a chess game, and Aquarius throwing darts at a map hoping for the best. Talk about a recipe for mixed signals.
Yeah.
Is it even possible for these two to find a rhythm that works?
Well, it all comes down to willingness to compromise, right? Capricorn might need to loosen up a bit, allow for more spontaneity, while Aquarius might benefit from embracing that depth and emotional connection that Capricorn brings to the table. It takes effort from both sides, that's for sure.
It sounds like a constant balancing act. Speaking of which, this article said that while these two might not inherently distrust each other, they might have doubts about whether the relationship itself can actually go the distance. What's that all about?
You hit the nail on the head. It all goes back to their core differences. Remember, Capricorn needs stability, predictability. They're playing the long game in life and in love. They want to know what to expect. Aquarius, on the other hand, they've got that independent streak and a more unconventional approach to, well, everything.
So it's not that they don't trust each other's feelings, it's more like they don't trust that their life paths can actually align in the long run.
Bingo. And that uncertainty, that underlying tension, it can create some interesting dynamics in how they communicate. The article actually uses this phrase to describe it, and you're going to think I'm making this up. Distant, cold, silent agreement.
Distant, cold, silent agreement. Okay, now that sounds a little ominous, doesn't it? What's going on beneath the surface? Give us the inside scoop.
Well, it does sound a bit chilly, doesn't it? But honestly, it's not always a bad thing. It can actually show they've got this deep, unspoken respect for each other's boundaries. See, they're not all about those clingy declarations of love or needing constant reassurance, They're cool with giving each other space to breathe, to just be themselves.
So less about those dramatic blowouts and more about this quiet understanding that they each need their freedom.
Exactly. But here's the thing, there's two sides to every coin, right? Sometimes this whole hands-off approach can backfire. They might end up with all these unmet needs, resentment building up under the surface. Like Capricorn might just bottle everything up until they explode, and then Aquarius checks out emotionally at the first sign of trouble. So it's a real tightrope walk, finding that balance between giving each other space, but also making sure they're both feeling loved and heard.
So we're saying that these two signs, both famous for being all cool and collected, actually have these hidden depths when it comes to emotions. Seems kind of ironic, doesn't it?
Totally. It's not that they don't feel things deeply, it's more like they have totally different ways of showing it. Capricorn, being an earth sign, they express love through actions, doing practical stuff, creating that sense of stability.
So forget the grand romantic gestures. They're more about the I fixed your leaky faucet because I love you kind of love.
100%. They're all about showing up in those practical, tangible ways. Now, Aquarius, they're all about that mind-to-mind connection. They express affection through shared ideas, having those deep conversations, feeling like they're on the same wavelength intellectually.
This reminds me of that line from the article, something about Capricorn needs to separate from the ground. Aquarius will have to come a bit closer to Earth. Really paints a picture, doesn't it?
It does. It's about finding that middle ground where Capricorn can let go a little, embrace some of that Aquarian idealism, and Aquarius learns to ground their energy just enough to create some solid footing for the relationship.
So, their differences, they're not always deal breakers. The article hinted that Capricorn and Aquarius might actually have some surprising things in common when it comes to values.
Yeah, they're not always at odds, that's for sure. For example, Aquarius might seem like they're all about breaking the rules, right? But they actually thrive when they've got some structure in their life. And that's where Capricorn comes in. It's that whole push and pull dynamic again, only this time it actually works in their favor.
So Capricorn's like the steady hand at the wheel, creating a safe space for Aquarius to do their thing without feeling judged.
Nailed it. Think of it like a home base, a launching pad for all their adventures. Without that grounding energy, Aquarius might just spin out. Plus, let's not forget, they both value loyalty, they both think for themselves, they're not about to follow the crowd.
That shared independence, that's got to be tricky, right? Two strong personalities could go either way.
For sure, it's a double-edged sword. There's definitely potential for clashes if they're not careful. But here's the cool part. If they can each respect the other's need for autonomy, for freedom, it actually becomes their superpower. They're not intimidated by their partner's individuality, they're into it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about shared activities. The article mentioned something about Capricorn grounding Mars energy, while Aquarius has tons of it. I'm going to need you to break that down for me because honestly, that went straight over my head.
Haha. Fair enough. Okay, picture this. Capricorn's like that super organized road trip itinerary, every detail planned out. Aquarius, they're throwing the map out the window and going wherever the wind takes them. Totally different energy levels.
Okay, that I get. So how do they find activities that work for both of them? Are they better off just having their own separate hobbies?
Separate hobbies are great, don't get me wrong, but they can definitely find common ground if they get a little creative. It's all about finding things that have both structure and spontaneity. Maybe Capricorn plans this amazing weekend getaway, and Aquarius gets to choose some fun detours along the way, spice things up a bit.
So compromise is the magic word once again. It's about blending their styles instead of seeing them as incompatible.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just, formal activities. It's about respecting each other's rhythm in everyday life. Capricorn might need their quiet time to recharge, while Aquarius gets energized by being social. The key is, they gotta honor each other's needs without making the other person feel neglected. It's a delicate dance, but it's doable.
It's like that old saying, distance makes the heart grow fonder. Sometimes a little space is all it takes to appreciate each other instead of feeling like, they're in each other's way all the time.
Right. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, totally. Too much togetherness, those differences can turn into arguments. But give each other that freedom, that space to be themselves, and suddenly becomes exciting, something that helps them grow.
Wow, we've gone through a lot today.
Yeah.
Seems like this pairing, it's definitely not easy, but if they're both willing to put in the work, it could be amazing.
It's not for those who want things easy, that's for sure. But if they're looking for a relationship that challenges them, pushes them to grow, to be open-minded, embrace a different pace, well, this could be it.
So for our listeners who might be trying to figure this dynamic out in their own lives, what are the key takeaways? What's the big picture when it comes to Capricorn and Aquarius compatibility?
Well, first things first, opposites attract, but making it work takes effort. It's about understanding, really getting that your partner isn't trying to drive you crazy. They just see the world differently.
So don't try to change them. Celebrate what makes them unique.
Exactly. Embrace that individuality, encourage each other to be themselves, and remember, compromise isn't about losing yourself. It's about finding a way to dance together, even if your steps don't always match perfectly.
Beautifully said. So let's say they do embrace those differences, they find that balance. What's the potential look like for these two?
Oh, it's huge. This is a relationship that can last, filled with those deep conversations, that quiet understanding, and the kind of love that just gets stronger over time. It's a slow burn, but when it ignites, it's powerful.
And that's an inspiring thought. This has been such a fascinating deep dive into Capricorn and Aquarius compatibility. We've looked at their strengths, their weaknesses, and that incredible potential that comes from their differences.
Totally agree. It's been a really interesting exploration.
And for you listening, here's something to think about.
Mm.
Do you believe that overcoming those fundamental differences, whether it's astrology or just, who you are as people, does that actually create a stronger bond?
Mm.
Or are some relationships just inherently harder no matter how much effort you put in?
Something to chew on, for sure.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into a whole new topic. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and remember, the stars might guide you, but ultimately, you're the one writing your own love story.